Hi, everyone. Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful community, the MAAP community, planning for the care of your pets, navigating their journey if something were to happen to you. So tonight, I'd like to start a little bit early before everyone gets here for people who are new to the program and want to know exactly what it's all about. Well, this is a community of people who love animals. They love their animals, they love other animals. And I'm so blessed to have repeated people on the call who make a difference, who share their ideas, their experiences with me so I can make the plan even better. The MAP plan stands for something, so you should know that it stands for what you're supposed to do if you have a pet. So the M stands for making a plan. That means you have to actually sit down and make a plan for how your pets are going to be cared for. And one of our regulars, Connie, dropped off an email to me about two wonderful German Shepherds. Connie Kohler dropped off this post about two beautiful German Shepherds who were left high and dry when their relatively young owner passed away, and no plan was made for them. Now they've been together for 6 and 7 years because one's 6 and one's 7. And what are you going to do? Now, she did leave them in the care of a certain rescue so that that rescue can help them find a place. But what we do here at the MAP community is really help everyone take the time to work through that question of what kind of plan do I need to make? What has to be in it? I don't even know where to start. Well, that's why I started the MAP community, because I'm trying to gently nudge everyone who loves their pets to put in writing what would happen to the pets if something were to happen to them. So that's make a plan. The first A stands for appointing caregivers. I really want everyone to really think about and choose caregivers. I always like to have 3 caregivers, but if you can only think of one, that's fine. And then we can always talk to you and have you look for extras. It's amazing how I can find caregivers under rocks. It's unbelievable. And then the second A is appoint caregivers. You're addressing the needs of the pet, you're appointing caregivers. So the A for appointing caregivers, I find them. The A for addressing the needs of the pet. If your pet bites people, or if your pet runs away, or if your pet needs medication, or doesn't get along with other girls, or doesn't get along with other boys, it is so nice to tell people that before they get your dog. So addressing the needs of your pet helps the next person who's taking your pet to really understand what works for this pet. And finally, if you're going to put it in writing, you're going to take the time to work with us in this community every Wednesday to put all that information down and maybe attend a workshop. You have to publish it. You have to write it down, and then you have to hand it to everyone who is the person you're going to ask to take care of your pets. You're going to hand it to your attorney, who's going to hold this plan for you and pay the people who are taking care of your pets. You're going to give it to your vet so that your vet knows who can bring the dog in or the cat in to care for it. So that's why we're here every Wednesday. We're here every Wednesday talking about all the new and interesting things that come about every week that we learn as pet owners that we have to make a plan for. So I'm so glad you're all here. And now I am so glad to welcome our wonderful crew, Connie, Sally, and Kieran. Kieran, you were first. I'm like so shocked. You're doing a great job. I'm really thrilled to see you and hear any new things that are happening with One-Eyed Leo. It's at the AKC delegates meeting. So we're hoping they get it on the platform.
Gosh, that'd be terrific. Absolutely terrific. It's one tiny bit of news. I don't know if it's too late for that particular meeting, but we're producing the peer reviews. So we've got 12 absolutely excellent peer reviews, and these are from a mix of veterinary surgeons to best-selling authors and dog trainers. So I don't know if I'll have that with you tomorrow or the next day. I don't know if that's too late.
Well, that'll be great because we can always share it. The AKC delegates meeting is later next week, so I can always forward it, and so can Connie, to her delegate so they can get the peer-reviewed information in front of the AKC. I think their meeting is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or something. So, and if it's not this time, it's next time. And Responsible Pet Owner Month is September, so we're hoping that we get it out there in September, and maybe, you and I will chat about how we might be putting together a Why Do Pets Matter podcast starting right before responsible pet ownership, so that we can get the word out for everyone to look for and how they can access One-Eyed Leo as they have a pet, so they know what they got into before they got into it, but they didn't know. And also for people to get it before they get a pet. And then, of course, understanding what to do to take care of your pet, which is at the end, and I'm so grateful, of One-Eyed Leo, what to do to take care of your pet if something were to happen to you. So this is the all-encompassing book that everyone should read before they get a pet, if they have a pet, and if they're older and have a pet, how they can take care of the pet long-term, short-term. It gives you a lot of really good information and good access to different information. So it's great. So Kieran, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad everything is percolating along and everybody is agreeing with us, your first litmus testers, that it was a really great program. I mean, we were here cheering you on from the beginning.
That's
and
true.
Now we're really thrilled that it's coming to fruition in such a beautiful way.
Well, I think you've a huge amount of credit to take yourself there, Debbie. This wasn't going to happen, never would have happened without your effort and support.
Well, that's what we're here for. I mean, the
Yeah.
MAP plan supports everyone with pets to really live their best life with pets. And your, concept and imagination and the time and effort you put into writing One-Eyed Leo, so that everybody can really understand whether it's a shelter pet or a purebred pet. There are things you need to know and do. And people don't take the time to do that. I have to tell you, I have 3 clients in my office this week who, are either embroiled in litigation because they didn't read the contract they signed, or are contemplating signing a contract that I had to honestly tell them not to sign. One was a lady who fostered a dog for 1.5 years, and then the breeder got the dogs back after the court dismissed all the charges. And now, she says, well, I'd like the dog back, but this is the contract they want me to sign. And I said, well, you have to understand that this is going to be an incredibly onerous contract, and you're going to have to give the dog up to let it be finished, and you're going to have to give the dog up to let it have puppies and be fed. So you have to recognize what your piece in this is. It was not as bad a contract as some of the ones I've seen that people have signed, but it also had an indemnification amount, which means that if you violated the contract, this amount of money would be due no matter what. And that's huge. So really reading the contract you sign before you buy your pet is really important, whether it be a high-class breeder or a rescue or a shelter. Read those contracts. Because if you're making a MAP plan and in those contracts it says you have to return this dog to us, you have to talk to those people when you're making your MAP plan to tell them, I'm making a MAP plan. I'm happy to put you down, but I'd like the dog to go to Susie Q or Mary Jane F because they know the dog. And most people will be so grateful the dog isn't going back to the shelter or the rescue, but they just want to keep tabs on the dog to know the dog is okay. So we work on that in the workshops, because how you word that, how you approach your co-owner or your breeder about having that conversation so they don't feel like you're leaving them out of the loop is absolutely key. So Connie, I love that article you sent. I mean, I love it. I'm sad, but I love it, about
Yes.
the 2 German Shepherd boys
Mhm.
whose owner passed away and didn't have a plan. I mean, she had a little bit of a plan, I guess, because she went to that lovely rescue or group, wherever it is. I've posted it on Hamilton Law Mediation, so you can find the information about these 2 beautiful shepherds. If you have a home that can accommodate them going together, please check it out. But Connie, tell us a little bit about it and tell us how our Wheatons are.
Well, I really don't know all that much about the dogs themselves, other than what was posted.
What was on the post? And
that was why I wanted to share it. And I knew you would pick it up and take it further. And thank you for that. It was posted by a local friend of mine who does obedience in the community, and she really keeps tabs on rescue dogs and horses, particularly. As you know, being in the horse community, Deb, there are a lot of horses that are in kill pens, which is absolutely horrible. And so this gal, her name is Judith Brecka, is continually posting items in her Facebook feed to try to get these animals rescued. But at any rate, as quickly as we can get those lovely dogs placed, that would be terrific. And as far as the Wheatons are concerned, we're just all hanging in here. We have a show for my young boy at the end of the month in Santa Barbara, 4 days, and hoping that the heat stays down to a dull roar. It is 122 out in the Palm Springs area today.
Oh my God.
Yes, oh my God. In fact, at noon, my friend Bonnie, whom you know, who's on the squad board with me.
I see that the girls are teaching the boys a little manners right now. They are naughty, naughty.
We're having stink eye going on.
Well, yes, because, I'm top girl now and you're low on the totem pole.
Absolutely. Well, Mama is in the knee hole of my desk at my feet, and the boy is behind me under the wing chair. So we're doing a lot of stink eye while we are on the conversation.
Of course.
But at any rate, no, it's very, very hot in the desert. So we can add desert heat to the D list. In fact, there have been dogs that have barely made it. I think you may have seen that post about that year-old golden retriever puppy up in the high desert north of Los Angeles.
That was such a sad story, but it had such a wonderful outcome. They really thought,
exactly.
I don't know if all of you saw it, but they really thought the dog had suffered such extreme heat exposure that it would have irreversible brain damage. And so they tried to give it fluids and hope for the best. And incredibly, the dog did recover and has minimal, if any, brain damage due to the heat. You have no idea, your dog doesn't have to be in the car to overheat. It exacerbates it for sure, but you can have a dog that's sitting outside without any shade, without any water, who's going to overheat. You can have a dog sitting outside in 120 or whatever that's in Desert Palm Springs, and they could overheat just standing outside waiting to go pee.
That's exactly right. I mean, Bonnie gets her dogs out early in the morning and she gets them out late at night. And in between, if they have to go, they go in the garage, which is air conditioned.
Yeah.
But it was 122 at noon when she was driving home from a doctor's appointment. She called me and she said, "Oh my God, you won't believe what my car is saying to me."
It is unbelievable. And also, if you're letting them out, recognizing the ground is that hot. And so even though they have nice paws, I remember we went to the National in Las Vegas. We all we went to Costco and bought a bunch of men's athletic socks, and we taped them, we rubber band them onto the dog's feet, because our dogs definitely don't have feet that can walk on Las Vegas in June asphalt.
Absolutely. And the asphalt, by the end of the day, the heat of the day in the West it always really goes up between 4 and 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And by the time the asphalt, especially blacktop, has been baking all day, it's 30, 40, 50 degrees above the outside air temperature.
Right. And it can even be sticky, which is really scary. It can even be sticky. So recognizing that your pets are susceptible to heat even in short spurts. I know I'm going to get to Sally in a minute, but she has 2 older Irish setter girls, and she knows that when the humidity is out there, she really has to take them for like a 5 or 10 minute walk max and bring them back, because it doesn't bode well. If it's heavy to breathe, if it's heavy to walk on the tarmac, I mean, it's good where Sally lives. They have a lot of dirt roads, so that's a little bit better than asphalt. But making sure your pets are not exposed to extreme weather is so key. It is. And I'm so glad you brought up the horses as well, because so many of the horses, the BLM now is, I know all of you might not be aware of the BLM, it's the Bureau of Land Management. And they are pulling more horses off the range because of drought. The drought caused sometimes by the overgrazing of the land by cattle owners, public land by cattle owners. So the horses are a little bit suffering because of that. but may not be suffering as much, and maybe they're taking them off. There's a dual decision here. One is that the cattle are overgrazing, and so there's not enough water because the cattle are overgrazing, or let's get the horses off so the cattle don't run out of water. There's enough water for everybody, but we don't want the horses drinking it. So these horses are then brought in, and they actually stand out in that heat in open pens. And so it really is not a great situation. I'm trying to think of a way how I can help them have a conversation. One group actually was able to rescue a wild family. So it was the stallion and 4 of his mares and 3 of his foals, and move them to a sanctuary, which is unheard of. So hopefully they're working toward having a conversation. And when you catch these wild horses, it's not as if, you know, you can just sell 3 horses. Those are the 3 that go with it. No, they're families. It's like you losing your brother, your sister, your aunt, your uncle, everybody. You really have to pay attention. And the only reason they said that they were able to pull this family out was because of a wonderful photographer who went out and documented this family living together. And so when they went in the pen, they could say, see, this is this horse, and this is this horse, and this is this horse, and that's their foal. And so they were able to make a case that these 7 or 8 horses live together and should leave together. And so the woman was in tears. She said she was ugly crying, because she was able to rescue these horses. So it just, Return to Freedom, I think, was the group that, and I might be wrong, so don't like call me and write me and tell me I'm horrible, but I think it was Return to Freedom, or else it was Sky Dog Sanctuary who was able to do it. And I have to say those people worked tirelessly to help these horses that are pulled off the range. And whether or not you're a proponent or an advocate, or a detractor from this, we have to figure out a better way to do this. It's not good to leave them in their pens, these pens their whole lives. So Sally, how are the girls and how's the weather? I know that we had a lot of rain here. We were flooded here in North Carolina.
Well, the girls are great, as always. And our weather is like, it's humid, but we're okay. We're not like overly hot. Looks like it's going to change toward the end of the week, but right now we're in a holding pattern. But nonetheless, whenever I leave, we go out before I leave, and then I turn on the AC, make sure there's plenty of water, and they go inside because, you know, as you're all talking about the weather, it can change at a moment's notice, and then they're stuck in the house. And if it heats up, it heats up. They can't go anyplace. I know during 9/11, they talked about the dogs that survived. Many of the dogs were the ones where the toilet seat was left up because they could get water.
Yep.
So, yeah, anyway, they're great. You know, we've got good weather, and our biggest fear here right now is ticks. But so far, we're holding them at bay. So
I know, I have to tell you, and you know, ticks are a nemesis for our dogs and for our people.
yes, absolutely. And unfortunately, I have dogs with very, very long hair, and they are being brushed to the max every time they go back into the house because we're all so frightened of ticks, and trying to find something organic, which doesn't seem to exist, to keep the ticks off. So we're just doing the very best we can.
Yeah, yeah. I'm thinking some eucalyptus or something might work, but I'm not sure it's as powerful as the DEET stuff that they put, or, you know, I know that a lot of people are now using Bravecto, but I've heard not such good things about Bravecto. So even though it may last 2 weeks longer, I don't want to use it, and doubling it up or using it early in older girls causes issues as well. So there's no good answer to making sure they're covered for those 4 weeks of your treatment with, you know, NexGard and everything else. But, you know, you've got to try your best. And of course, since the girls are formerly my girls, and maybe one might return to me, I know how much they love being brushed, not. So they must love that you brush them every single day as if they're having their teeth drilled without Novocaine, because they are just such pleasant girls. They don't bite, but they definitely let you know that they don't like being brushed.
But I think they get it. They understand you're trying to do something good for them. And we've changed our walking routes. We're not walking on asphalt, but as far as going into the
Bushes.
the bushes, no, we're staying in the center of the road now.
Or short grass. Yeah, I mean, so everyone who's going to listen to this later recognize that this is high tick season. This is something you really have to worry about. Maybe in 120 degrees, that might kill a tick, but I'm not so sure. They're pretty resilient.
Well, but for those of us by the coast, even though it is dry, I mean, we only got 6 inches of rain here in SoCal, all downtown LA, City Hall. 6.04 inches of rain all winter. We're supposed to have at least 14 or 15 inches in normal times. We still have ticks on the West Coast, even with wildfires and drought and the whole 9 yards. So we are not immune. And the ticks out here carry Lyme disease to both humans and animals.
Yeah.
So it's not fun.
No, it's not fun. And you know what's really interesting is that I was a moderator, and I might have said this on an earlier MAAP call, but I was a moderator at a program at a veterinary conference, and the speaker was a veterinarian who does all sorts of epidemiology for ticks. And he said the next pandemic, he was wrong, but okay, we'll give him that. He said the next pandemic is going to come via a tick. He said, because these guys don't die. They don't die from fire. They don't die from heat. I mean, when I get them off the dogs, I smash them until they squirt, because then I know they're dead.
Right.
Something hard like a spoon or a glass or something, just till they squirt, they have to squirt. Sorry to be graphic. And for everyone who loves every animal on the universe, I apologize as well, but ticks are just something I think will keep the number on Earth low if they ever get their way, because they'll transmit all of these diseases so prevalently. And I think the scariest part, and Sally, I know you've experienced this yourself and Gordon, is that the infections that they share with us don't happen really quickly. They can sometimes linger in your body, creating all sorts of compromises to vital organs. And then all of a sudden you'll get to that magic point where they'll let you know something's wrong. And then it's sometimes too late.
And one thing, at least in Connecticut, if you take the tick off with a tweezer and you put it into a plastic bag and you take it to the health department in Connecticut for free, they will analyze that tick and they know what kind of tick it is. So if, let's say, a week later you start having symptoms and you call the health department, at least you know which tick it is, because the antibiotics for the different ticks are completely different. So what affects the Lyme tick is completely different than the babesiosis or the other ticks. So you want to make sure you're on the right antibiotic for your dog. And if you did pull the tick off, put it in a plastic bag, take it to the health department, at least you have a bit of a head start as to which antibiotic you should be taking.
That's such great advice, because I just told everybody to smash it under a spoon. No, don't do that. Take it off with a tick, put it in maybe a plastic container, a plastic Ziploc, whatever, and go down to your health department. And I think probably most of them will provide you with that information. If not, maybe you can, mail it to Connecticut and say you got it while you were visiting and have them look at it so that you can know what's going on. Because it really is, I have to say, a silent debilitator. If not a silent killer, it's a silent debilitator. So before we wrap up, because of course this goes way too fast, I want to share that starting in probably mid-October, right before I get another bionic part, I'm going to hold a weekend where everyone can come and update their MAAP plan or make one of their own. So all of you who are listening out there, which I know when I look at the analytics, it's incredible. There are like 50 people who listen to this afterwards. I wish you'd come and join us so we'd know who you were and we could help you do what you need to do. But probably before the 20th of October, we will have a follow-up and a beginner's class on how to make your MAAP plan, because it's been too long. I was supposed to do one, I think, in April or in August, and that didn't happen because of a pesky hip that I had replaced. So we are going to do one in October. Rose and I are working on it now. I'm just so grateful that all of you are here. I'm grateful that all of you are listening. Remember, I've talked to so many people in the past week about making a plan for their pet. And the one thing I share with them, which I'll share with all of you again tonight, is make sure you have a note on your door of your home, the dashboard of your car, your refrigerator, saying these dogs don't go to animal care and control. Please call these people, have at least 3 numbers, and one of them should be your nosy neighbor. Make friends with your nosy neighbor, because they will be home. God forbid you're found on the floor. They'll be home to say, yes, I know what to do with the dogs, leave them there. That's all you want them to say. They don't even have to touch the dogs, because they'll have that, list of 3 names as well, so that they'll call Connie and Sally and Kieran, and they'll know what to do. But you have to have somebody who is right there, who's pretty much always right there to tell emergency services not to call animal care and control. These dogs are not going to animal care and control. I know who to call, and they'll leave them behind. It is the one thing I want to impart to everyone who is listening, because quite frankly, if you don't have it easily visible, it's not going to happen. So you have the MAP plan, it's in a file in your drawer, not helpful. You need to let everyone know that you have a MAP plan, who to call. Those 2 things have to be easily accessible to anyone who might need it. And of course, before you buy that pet, recognize that there are commitments you have to make to that pet. And that's why Karen is here to share with us the wonderful outlines and stories of One-Eyed Leo, who really not only walk you through, the adults through, the responsibilities of pet ownership, but walk your kids through the responsibility of dog ownership. And so you don't get bullied into getting a dog because your kids want it and you're going to be the one responsible. This way everybody makes a concerted effort. So before I leave, tell me one good thing, Kieran, that happened this week to you that was such a surprise.
Okay, this is sort of out of the twilight zone, but I'm helping someone to look after their dog, and I bring it to the seaside at about 6:30 every morning, or slightly later as the sun rises a bit later. So finally, the last week, the dog decided it would like to swim.
Oh God.
Right. So then it sort of discovered these waves are quite nice. And this morning it started, it worked out how you go out and catch the tennis ball in the sea, but then when you're coming in, how you can actually surf on the waves, on the last wave with your paws. And I just thought it a little bit crazy, but it was strange to see it.
And fun to watch. And I'm sure
I got a
fun to
video of
watch.
it as well. Yes, I got a
And they
video.
love staying with you. They're going to stay with you again. And hopefully you have those 3 people to call in case something happens, or at least you know what to do if something happens to the person who is leaving you with the dog.
Oh, it's no problem there. No problem
Okay,
there.
good. Connie, what's one great thing that happened to you, surprisingly?
We've been working on this for a while in the National Breed Club, which I have to jump off in a minute because I have my board meeting on Zoom. But we have been working, as you know, to spin off our rescue team into their own 501c3 charitable nonprofit. And we are just about to hit send on the filing to the Internal Revenue Service.
Awesome. Good for you guys.
That just happened today. So we're very happy.
That removes that whole thing from you, and then you can fund them in certain ways that'll be better for the club. Fabulous.
Absolutely. And they can raise money with impunity, and they are not bound by the regulations that we are operating under. So with that, I've got to go, and I will
Bye,
see you all
sweetie.
next
Thanks
week.
for coming.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you next week. Hey, Sally, so what's one of the great surprise things that happened to you?
Well, I think I kind of planned it a little in advance, but when I picked up Roxy, there was a large bag of goodies that obviously smelled like her owner's home. And I didn't wash anything. And I set that bag of goodies in a spot in the house. And it's like a wonderful safety zone for her. If she's ever a bit anxious, she goes and she sniffs that bag, which is the owner she's most familiar with. And it calms her right down. And
Yeah.
so it's always great because could be something as silly as, I don't know, a sound she doesn't like or a fire engine going by. She runs over, she smells that, she calms right down. So I may never wash the bag.
Oh, well, that's good. Don't wash the bed because I want her to remember me someday, you know, when I get back there, not look at me and say, oh, it's you, or, oh, don't bother, I'm not coming. Not like Athena, who was like, oh God, stay away. So until next week, I love you all. Say goodbye to your dogs for me. Give them big kisses. And remember, make a plan, address the needs of your pet, appoint caregivers, and publish that plan. This is Deborah Hamilton, Hamilton Law and Mediation, the Why Do Pets Matter podcast, and of course, this wonderful MAAP community, which I hope will grow over the next year so that we all can save so many more dogs and not have them looking for homes. Take care.